Trumpet players, today we're going to talk about endurance. And I've got 5 not so obvious factors that are limiting your endurance. Let's get to it. Hey everybody, it's Tito. Welcome back to Jazz Mind, the channel that's your resource for learning jazz improvisation, learning how to make the trumpet easier so that you can play the music that you're hearing, and mindfulness for musicians. Today we're going to get into endurance, but before we do that, please like, comment, share, and subscribe to my channel. I love all the feedback I'm getting so far, and you guys been treating me with love. I really, really do appreciate that very much. I'd love to hear more comments dealing with questions and future videos that you'd like me to put out. But don't worry, because I've got a whole long list of content and videos that are coming your way. We haven't even scratched the surface here yet, so I'm really excited about that. So let's get right into the list of the 5 not so obvious factors that are limiting your endurance. Number 1, this one's pretty straightforward. You can't hear yourself that well. This happens a lot at gigs. Man, I can't tell you how many times I've played bar gigs, for example, where there was no monitor and I just can't hear myself that well. And it's easy to overplay, to overblow. You don't even realize you're doing it. You're just simply trying to hear some kind of feedback from your bell and you're not getting it. And then I'm wondering, wow, we've only played 2 tunes and I'm already kind of cashed out here with my lips. So it's really important the next time you find yourself in a musical situation where you can't really hear yourself, not to overdo it with the volume. And you know what? Here's the thing. Just because you can't hear yourself doesn't mean the audience can't hear you. You know why? Because you play the trumpet, and the trumpet's really loud. So the way I've dealt with this issue in the past is either go by feel, where I'm going to really try and remember what playing at a normal volume is like, and I'm going to commit to that, and I'm going to trust in my projection on the trumpet that it's getting through, unless somebody tells me otherwise. Or when I have to take more drastic measures and I really cannot hear myself, I go ahead and use one earplug. Some of you might feel a little uncomfortable because if you use one earplug, that means you can't really hear the band quite as well as you could before. But honestly, for me, it's just protecting me against myself. With one earplug, I can hear my inner vibration every time I'm playing, and it immediately sounds louder to me. And I realize, oh yeah, I am playing at a good volume. And then I still have one ear available to hear the rest of the band. Can you hear as well if you had, both ears open and not using an earplug? Well, no. I mean, it does limit your hearing, but at the very least, it's going to protect you from overblowing if this is something that has been a recurring issue. Number 2, shallow breathing. Oftentimes shallow breathing is due to nervous energy, either nerves or adrenaline. You're amped up to play a gig, you're excited, or you're fearful or whatever. But usually when we have nerves, we start getting that feeling in the pit of our stomach. You know the feeling. Or sometimes it's up here in your chest area. And what it leads to is even when we're mimicking like we're breathing, we're actually not really taking deep abdominal breaths. And this is why when people ask me, hey, Tito, what are you thinking when you're on stage playing? Honestly, I'm thinking about breathing, number 1, because I know that that's my lifeline. And I mean true, proper, deep abdominal breaths. I want like Darth Vader quality breaths, although his breathing pattern is way too slow to play the trumpet. It's like Darth Vader on fast forward. So it's like, make sure that you open, when you're playing a phrase and then you breathe, make sure you open your mouth, because that's how you're going to be able to get the most amount of air in a short amount of time. I don't really get too nervous anymore, but I do get excited, and I know I get amped up for gigs. And oftentimes what I'll do is before I even play, I start taking those deep breaths, mimicking what I'm going to do on the trumpet. And I'll just do this. So it's taking a deep breath immediately followed by a very fast stream of air. And that leads me to my next factor that is limiting your endurance: not using up the air that you've taken in. Ooh, I've seen this a lot in less experienced players. They're doing great on the intake. They're taking in that deep breath. In fact, a lot of times they're really concentrating on breathing, but see, breathing to them is only about the intake. Well, what about the airstream? What about the speed of the air? Yeah, they're not really putting on the jets as far as that airstream is concerned. It's more like taking in a breath and then kind of sighing, like, yeah, that's not going to cut it on the trumpet. This happens a lot with improvisers or with soloists, people who have to play for long stretches at a time. Sometimes you're playing an etude, for example, and you'll notice that people who struggle with not using up their air literally have to get rid of air before taking their next breath. And here's the thing, you have to get rid of the air because that carbon dioxide has been building up while you're playing. Guess what, pal? That air that you're giving up should have been going through the instrument in the first place. You're struggling with a slow air approach to the trumpet. It doesn't work. I love what James Morrison says in his how to play trumpet video. If you haven't seen that video, you got to check it out. He's not only one of the greatest trumpet players in the world, and he plays every other instrument, which is sickening, but he's also a fabulous teacher. He brings up the trumpet and he goes, "This thing runs on air." That's right. For you slow air people, this thing runs on air. I would add, it runs on fast air. But Tito, I thought fast air was only for the upper register. No, fast air is all, when you're playing soft, when you're playing in the middle register, when you're playing lower, we're using fast air. It's just that when we go into the upper register, we're using like ludicrous speed air. And by the way, how do we speed up the air? One thing that I find that a lot of these slow air type trumpet players have in common is they're not really using their lower body. And I'm talking about the abdominal muscles around the belly button area. I'm not talking about the diaphragm, because the diaphragm is an involuntary muscle. But I get it. The diaphragm region, right? But it's not your diaphragm. Anyway, it's your abdominal muscles that are pushing. I mean, literally, when I'm holding out a note, I can feel my belly button coming in because I'm actively speeding up the air from this part of my body. Do you find yourself having to get rid of air before you take in a new breath when you're playing an improvised solo or when you're playing an etude or something? Then I want you to think 2 words: faster air. Period. Number 4. The fourth factor is you're not taking the horn off of your face enough. This is for the same people that are playing extended etudes or solo repertoire, solo recitals, or they're improvisers. So they have to play with the horn on their face quite a bit. Well, guess what? You can't just keep the horn up there forever. You actually got to take it off the face and then put it back on. And if you look at a lot of the best soloists in the world, you're going to see them do exactly this. Like, take a look at this short clip. I just want you to look at Wynton Marsalis and just watch his habits when he plays. Right there. Okay, what about Arturo Sandoval? Let's take a look at him. Right there. Mm-hmm. I think what happens a lot of times is we're thinking a lot about the technique of what we're playing. Maybe it's difficult passages that we have to get through and navigate, or you're improvising and you're just so focused on your ideas that you just have your lips pinned against your teeth with that mouthpiece all the time. You need to periodically take the trumpet off and reset. That's it. Very simple. It doesn't have to be for a long period of time, but it needs to be somewhat frequently to keep the blood circulating in your lips. And this is actually going to extend your endurance. And finally, number 5, the 5th factor that is limiting your endurance. And this might sound a little controversial, but your embouchure may be too loose in the middle and low register. That's right. I hear so many teachers and videos talk about having a relaxed embouchure, having a relaxed. Please go see my video on the 3 F's for a fabulous embouchure. If you have not seen that, I will link that in the description below or up here or something. Still learning this YouTube thing. But to clarify, yes, a part of your embouchure must remain relaxed, but that part is right here in the middle, the fleshy part of the lips that are literally inside the cup of the mouthpiece. And why do they need to remain relaxed? Because they need to vibrate, right? If we get no vibration, we get no tone. If we get a weak vibration of the lips, we get a weak tone. If we get a robust vibration of the lips, we get a robust tone. And that's what we want, and we want that in all registers. But this part of your embouchure, the corners, the chin, must remain flat. Guess what? That part of your embouchure ain't relaxed. And if it is, there's a problem. We need to form our embouchure, and that requires a bit of energy. Now, you don't have to be Thor Ragnarok with the chops of steel, but you do need to create a seal so that air does not escape out of the sides, and the focus can be protecting that relaxed, vibrating portion of your lips. And what I see happen all the time with less experienced players is that they get to the easy registers, and all of a sudden, whereas in the upper register they were having pretty good form, they get to the middle register and it's just like, they start letting go of everything. Guess what happens when you let go? And again, this is in the middle register, this is in the low register. Registers that generally, even when you kind of let go, they're still going to sound, but you're putting all of the pressure right now on this part of your lips. When your corners are loose, you open up yourself to more mouthpiece pressure. The reason it's so important to have firm corners and a flat chin is to ward against excessive mouthpiece pressure. So an exercise I have, if you think that this might be you, is start practicing scales in a descending manner that start either in the middle register or even a little bit up high, and descend and make sure you're holding that form of that embouchure all the way into your lowest notes. So to recap the 5 factors, number 1, you can't hear yourself well. Number 2, shallow breathing, usually due to nerves, but not always. Sometimes it's just a bad habit. Number 3, not using the air that you take in. playing with slow air rather than utilizing fast air and really utilizing your lower body, your breath support. Number 4, not taking the horn off of your face enough. This is crucial to extending your endurance. Imagine going to the gym and holding a bicep curl for like 30 minutes. That's not what we do. We do sets of exercises followed by rest. Give your lips a break and take that mouthpiece off of your face and then put it right back on. If you're taking a jazz solo, you should do that, I would say 4 or 5 times in the course of a solo, maybe more. This will really catch up with you when you don't do it at the beginning of the gig. And number 5, your embouchure may be too loose in the middle and low register. So I hope this video helped made you aware of maybe some blind spots you may have when it comes to your own endurance. Let me know in the comments if you struggle with any of these. And for those of you that have really made a lot of progress in those areas, share how you did it. I'd love to hear it. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and don't forget to let me know what else you'd like me to talk about on these videos. Appreciate you, Jazz Mind family. We'll see you on the next video. Peace.